we did the transformations for sine and cosine in 5.5. The transformations for secant and cosecant, you'll see in a little bit, are almost exactly the same. The only thing that's actually different is for absolute value of A, we cannot say amplitude. Before trig, we did lots of transformations, polynomials in Unit A, rationals, exponentials, logs, all of that in the fall semester, and that A was always the vertical dilation. It still is, but for sine and cosine, we have a special vocabulary word of amplitude, but that is only for sine and cosine, so we're back to vertical dilation, which is absolute value of A, whatever number is in front of the trig function. The parent graph period for sine and cosine is 2 pi, and it's the same for secant and cosecant, so that's affected by B. And for dual, you have to possibly watch out for negatives on your coefficient B. So the formula for the period is 2 pi over absolute value of B. When the equation is written in this format with B times x plus c without the second set of parentheses, your horizontal shift or your phase shift is c divided by b. When the problem is written the only way AP will see it, with the b separated with a second set of parentheses, or parentheses and square brackets is how I like to draw it. That is a lowercase c compared to a capital C, which is not a big difference. I understand that. But when it's written this way, which is the only way AP students will see the equation, that lowercase c is the horizontal shift or the phase shift without needing to involve the b. So if they give you the equation with the b factored out, basically like the way AP students will see it, it's just the c. If they don't, then you have to divide by the b. And all of that is going to be exactly the same for secant that we'll talk about after we do the parent graph. The d that's added outside the parentheses is the vertical shift or the midline. If they ask you for the midline, it needs to be an equation of a line, so make sure you put the y equals. If they just want the vertical shift, then it's going to be the number d with the word up or down. Phase shift, somebody in first period said they looked it up and they saw that it needed to be a negative, and it could, depending on the formula that you're using. I'm using the formula with pluses, and so the important part would be the word that you put with these, up and down, up or down to whatever it is for the problem, or left or right to the plus and the minus is not important for the formula. But none of these formulas are on your formula chart. You have to have these memorized, at least before the next unit to test. For online assignments, you can and should be using your notes, but working your way towards having them memorized. Eventual online quiz, you should try it without your notes, but before you press submit, check everything on your notes. And then same thing for the review, try it without your notes, like you're gonna have to take the test without your notes. You can use you'll get another copy of the formula chart, but it will just be that purple formula chart, the copy that I gave you earlier in January, and none of these formulas are on there. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0, cosine of negative pi is -1, cosine of pi is -1, sorry. Cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0, and cosine of 2 pi is back to 1. So using the same scale that I used for the parent graphs of sine and cosine, making 2 boxes be 1 unit on the y-axis and 4 boxes be 2 pi on the x-axis, which is the number of boxes I'll give you on the unit test, because that's the only one I have control over. On the online assignment, online quiz, review, you get the grid you get. But if you can do this kind of rough graph on your paper and find the points that you need to be able to put on your online assignment. That will get you through the online assignment, because it's all about getting the ordered pairs correct, and it's usually 2 or 3 ordered pairs that you need. So the cosine graph starts at the maximum, goes through the middle, down to the minimum, back to the middle, and up to the maximum. Just drawing it dotted here because that's not the focus of what we're doing. When cosine is 0, secant is 1 over cosine. 1 over 0 will be undefined. So at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2, cosecant is going to be undefined. So we have vertical asymptotes. When cosine is positive 1, secant will also be positive 1. 1 over 1 is 1. And that's going to happen also at 2 pi. So the maximum of cosine is the relative minimum of secant. And when cosine is positive, you have these U-shaped pieces in between the vertical asymptotes opening up. At pi, when cosine is negative 1, 1 over negative 1 is going to be negative 1. So the minimum of cosine is a relative maximum of secant. When cosine is negative, secant is also negative, and you have the U-shaped piece opening down, again, between the vertical asymptotes. When you are drawing these by hand, do your best to make it look like your graph is getting closer and closer to your vertical asymptotes. Try not to touch. Definitely don't cross. If you cross your vertical asymptote, you need to start over, erase that part and try again. But if it's touching, that's okay. Try not to, but it's going to happen. It's all right. The domain for secant, we have a lot of intervals that that have to be started and stopped because of these vertical asymptotes. For example, negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, union positive pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2, and the list would keep going forever. The range for the parent graph of secant is parentheses negative infinity to negative 1 with a square bracket, union square bracket positive 1, comma positive infinity, same range that the parent graph of cosecant had. The period of the parent graph of secant is 2 pi, just like it was for sine, cosine, and cosecant. We have to go all the way around the unit circle one time for all 4 of those graphs to do everything they're going to do once. And this graph has vertical asymptotes. There are infinitely many of them. So there's one at negative pi over 2, positive pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and so on. X plus C without the second set of parentheses or square brackets. The phase shift or the horizontal shift is C over B. And the vertical shift is D. If they ask you for the midline, make sure you include the y equals part, because if it's not a midline, unless it's a line needs y equals, not just a number. And if A is less than 0, then the graph is reflected over the x-axis. For dual, it is possible, it's not going to happen a lot, but it is possible that you will see B that's negative. AP, that's not going to happen, but it is possible for dual. And if B is less than 0, then the graph is reflected over the y-axis.